The story starts with a woman telling a child about a wolf that was once loved by a village far away. The wolf helped the village have great wheat harvests for many years. But as the villagers started growing their own wheat, they stopped believing in the wolf. This is the story of that wolf. A long time ago, a traveling merchant named Kraft Lawrence arrived in a village called Paslow, bringing furs and wheat. The villagers there believed in a wolf god named Hollow. That year, the harvest was great and the villagers were celebrating with a festival. Lawrence was looking for his friend, Ure, but because of a village rule, Ure was locked in a granary for a week after cutting the last bundle of wheat. Lawrence was disappointed. Later, Lawrence met with the village chief, who told him that the village had started using better farming methods, so they no longer had bad harvests. However, Hollow seemed unhappy. Lawrence learned that business was good in Paslow. After that, he went to relax by a river, but as he sat, he saw something moving in his cart. He checked and found a woman with animal ears, red eyes, and fangs. She howled like a wolf and had a big tail. She asked for food, and at first, Lawrence thought she was a demon. But she explained that she had sneaked into his cart to leave the village. She introduced herself as Hollow, the wise wolf from a place called YSU in the north. Although Lawrence didn't believe her at first, thinking she was pretending to be Hollow, she refused to show her real wolf form. She didn't want to go back to Paslow, so Lawrence decided to let her stay with him, hoping she might bring him good luck. She agreed, and since she needed either blood or wheat, she ate the wheat in his cart and changed into her wolf form. Lawrence was shocked, but then she disappeared. The next day, Lawrence returned to Paslow and planned to stay there for the night. He found Ure outside the granary. Ure said that Hollow was a lie and that the villagers didn't need her anymore because they would always have good harvests. Lawrence was surprised, but as he thought about what Ure said later, Hollow appeared. She explained that she lived in the wheat during harvest time, and it was hard for her to leave. But with the big amount of wheat in Lawrence's cart, she finally managed to escape. She told him that humans were afraid of her true wolf form, and most people in the village saw her as a curse, even though she had promised to bring good harvests. Sometimes, she made bad harvests to protect the land, but this made the villagers distrust her. She believed that future harvests would be good, but the villagers no longer needed her. Curious about her plans, Lawrence asked if she wanted to go somewhere, and she said she wanted to return to YSU. The next day, Lawrence secretly took Hollow out of Paslow. He was annoyed to find that she was wearing his clothes. She asked if she could travel with him, and he agreed, thinking it was meant to be. As they traveled, Hollow talked about her special skills. She had a great sense of smell, could hear perfectly, detect lies, and even know when a storm was coming. They stayed in an inn, where Hollow kept her wolf features hidden. In their room, Lawrence asked about the wheat she had escaped from, and Hollow said it would never spoil as long as she lived. But if it was eaten, burned, or ground down, it would disappear. It would be fine if it was just stored, so Lawrence decided to keep some wheat in a bag. Later, they went to the common room. Hollow said she could take care of herself because she had traveled in human form before. Lawrence shared his experiences as a merchant. Afterward, a new merchant named Zarin came to talk to Lawrence. The next evening, Lawrence gave Hollow a necklace with a bag of wheat to keep her from disappearing. Hollow seemed more interested in the food than the necklace, but Lawrence reminded her that she owed him. He also asked if she could really tell when someone was lying, since Zarin had said a new silver coin was coming out soon. This new coin would have more silver, making it more valuable. The plan was to gather the old coins and trade them for the new ones. Zarin offered to help identify the coin in exchange for a share of Lawrence's profits. Lawrence wasn't sure if Sharon was telling the truth, but Hollow explained that when someone lies, the reason behind the lie is more important than the lie itself. Lawrence admitted that even though he didn't know the truth, he would pretend to be interested in the deal for the money. Now that he knew the truth, he realized he would still go along with it. The next morning, Lawrence woke up to find Hollow missing. Later, he saw her coming out of a church. She explained she had been listening to the preaching and remembered how, when she first arrived from the north, the church didn't matter much to her. Over time, its stories about God had become less interesting. She felt a little sad, thinking it was a sign that things were changing. Lawrence tried to cheer her up, saying her homeland probably hadn't changed. They then met Sharon again, and Lawrence agreed to the deal, but they would meet at the port of Pau to sign a contract. Lawrence told Sharon to find him at a bar there. On the way, Lawrence joked about Hollow's age, teasing her about getting old. But then Hollow suddenly mentioned wolves attacking humans, claiming they wanted to eat their heads to gain their power. Lawrence was shocked and told her he had once been attacked by wolves and even lost a friend to them. Hollow apologized, and Lawrence asked her not to joke about such things anymore. Later, Hollow explained that unlike dogs, wolves had always been hunted by humans and were a source of fear. Humans always tried to find ways to defeat them when they entered their forests. Lawrence asked if Hollow had ever killed humans, but Hollow, feeling sad, refused to answer. Lawrence apologized, but she said they were even, which frustrated him. She remarked that they came from completely different worlds. When they arrived in Pau, Lawrence warned Hollow to hide her face since people from Paslow might recognize her. But Hollow was confident that the villagers had forgotten about her. In Pau, Hollow became fascinated by apples, and Lawrence gave her a silver coin to buy as many as she wanted. She spent it all on apples. They then went to a trading company named Malone to sell Lawrence's furs and look into Sharon's information. The place was busy because they were preparing for an expedition to the north. Lawrence met with a representative to sell his furs, and the first offer was 132 trinas. After some bargaining, Lawrence got 140, but just as he was about to accept, Hollow interrupted. She praised the representative for noticing the quality of the furs and pointed out that the animals must have eaten a lot of fruit, which made the pelts stronger. She suggested the pelts would be very valuable on the market. The representative, now worried, offered 200 trinas, but Hollow, threatening to sell elsewhere, demanded 210, which the representative reluctantly agreed to. Later, at a bar, Lawrence was surprised by Hollow's skill at negotiating. Hollow explained that she had learned by watching a clever merchant a long time ago. Lawrence then mentioned he couldn't smell fruit, and Hollow revealed that it was from the apples she bought earlier. She admitted it was just a trick. Hollow then asked about Sharon's information, but Lawrence told her that Malone didn't have anything useful. However, he still planned to make money from Sharon's tip. When they met Sharon again, Lawrence asked how he knew about the new silver coin. Sharon explained it was just a guess based on some information he had, but assured Lawrence that it was reliable. Sharon then asked for 10 trinas, which would be returned, plus 10% of Lawrence's profits in exchange for the information. Lawrence, seeing Hollow smile, agreed. The next day, Lawrence and Hollow signed the contract and learned that the new coin would be called the Trenny. Lawrence explained to Hollow that different kingdoms would compete by adjusting the silver content in their coins to make them more valuable. This would explain how Sharon might not be lying after all, but Hollow still wasn't completely convinced, saying her ears weren't perfect. They then went to meet one of Lawrence's friends, a currency dealer named Weiss, who might know more about the new coins. They thought the kingdoms might have released a small batch of coins to see how the market would react. When they met Weiss, he tried to flirt with Hollow, but Lawrence quickly interrupted and asked to see the new Trenny coins. Weiss showed them but insisted they looked the same. Hollow then asked if she could examine the coins more closely. She shook them near her ears, but Weiss dismissed this, saying it wouldn't help. Lawrence noticed her ears twitch and realized Hollow was thanking him for getting jealous earlier when Weiss flirted with her. Hollow then pointed out that the new coins sounded duller, which meant the silver content was lower, shocking Lawrence. Confused about how Jaren could profit, Hollow suggested that maybe Jaren had been tricking Lawrence. She explained that Jaren would lose nothing, but the timing of the information about the new coins and the lower silver contents seemed too coincidental. Lawrence realized Jaren might not be the mastermind, but instead just a pawn in a bigger plan. He figured out that someone could profit by spreading rumors to make people panic about the new coins, then buy them at a lower price. Lawrence and Hollow went back to Malone Trading Company to meet Jaren. Hollow noticed someone was watching them, but they continued as planned. Lawrence explained the scheme to Malone, telling them how the mastermind would manipulate the market by spreading rumors and then buying the new coins from tricked people at a loss. Later, they returned to their room to rest. Hollow suddenly remembered something important to tell Lawrence but couldn't recall it. Lawrence thought she would remember later and went to sleep. The next day, they met with Ron Marite, the manager of Passo's Malone branch. He had discovered that another company, Medit Trading, was behind Jaren's scheme. However, the true mastermind of Medit was still unknown. Ron agreed to work with Lawrence and offered him a 5% share of the profits for helping expose the scheme. Lawrence calculated that this would give him around 2,000 trinas, making him feel ecstatic about the possibility of opening his own store. That night, back in their room, Lawrence sketched out his vision of the store, and Hollow noticed. He explained that he wanted to open a store in a good town where he could form strong relationships and maybe find a wife. Hollow, however, felt troubled because if Lawrence opened the store, they would have to part ways. She would either have to travel alone or find a new partner. Lawrence reassured her that her knowledge and money would help her, but Hollow felt sad, admitting she was tired of being alone. Lawrence, feeling for her, promised not to open the store just yet and said he would keep traveling with her until she returned home. Hollow felt a little better, but she quickly grew sad again. Hollow then shared a dream she often had, where she was with her old friends Yu and Muri, but she always woke up alone. She explained how she had left Yatsu when she was young, and after all these years, she couldn't find her friends anymore. She cried, wishing she wouldn't have to wake up alone. Lawrence wiped her tears with the paper from his drawing, assuring her the deal wasn't finished yet. Later, as Hollow rested in Lawrence's bed, she remembered what she had wanted to tell him. She revealed that she overheard 3 thugs outside their room talking about a large scheme Lawrence was interfering with. She told him to follow her and jumped out of the window. Lawrence heard the door being hit and followed her. They ran toward Malone, with their pursuers close behind. As they ran, Lawrence suddenly told Hollow he would buy her a comb for her beautiful hair. But Hollow teasingly replied that she would rather have one for her tail instead. When they neared Malone, Hollow stopped him, sensing they were being watched. She quickly came up with a plan to distract their pursuers so Lawrence could reach Malone. She suggested that if she pretended to be captured, Lawrence could go to Malone and threaten to betray the pursuers, convincing them to help rescue her. Lawrence refused, afraid they would turn her over to the church and have her executed. Hollow hugged him, reassuring him that she believed he would come for her. She then ran off, drawing the attention of the pursuers.